Welcome to day 2 of the 2025 Lloyds Tour of Britain Women. We're on the northeast coast of England in the town of Hartlepool for the start of stage 2. The riders will be heading south to finish in Saltburn-by-the-Sea and the iconic climb up Saltburn Bank with its famous hairpins. That finish always provides exciting racing, and we certainly got plenty of that on stage 1. 110 riders rolled out from Dalby Forest in Yorkshire, with 81.5 kilometres of rolling terrain ahead of them on the way to the finish on the coast in Redcar. Anushka Costa led over the first Queen of the Mountains climb of the day.
Look at this from the Polish champion in white, though. Dominika Wladaszek is giving Anushka Costa a good run for her money.
But it was on the second categorised climb at Langburn's Bank that the race really got going. Kim LaCourte attacked, and Olympic road race champion Kristen Faulkner and Olympic time trial silver medalist Anna Henderson tried to go with her.
And it's Kim LaCourte kicking things off, and Anna Henderson's trying to follow. She's attempting to try and follow the wheel.
The rider from Mauritius was first over the top of the climb, and on the descent, she was joined by Faulkner. The pair held on to their advantage through the day's sprint at Newton-under-Rosebery. But as the race headed towards the finish in Redcar, the chasing pack were closing in fast.
Kim LaCourte goes in the white jersey. Look at the way that the Olympic road race champion Faulkner is trying to challenge. But it's LaCourte who's got the advantage. LaCourte has half a bike length. Well, she's going to be able to take stage 1, or is she? Oh, there she takes it. Kim LaCourte wins stage 1 into Redcar of the Lloyds Tour of Britain Women. Behind is the European champion Lorena Wiebes, who takes 3rd. Faulkner settles for 2nd.
Because of time bonuses for the first 3 riders across the finish, Kim LaCourte's lead over Kristen Faulkner is 5 seconds. Lorena Wiebes is 3rd at 14 seconds. Then comes Caroline Swinkles at 17, and a group of riders at 18 seconds, including British riders Kat Ferguson and Millie Cousins. As the riders prepared for the start of stage 2 in Hartlepool, we caught up with a Great Britain cycling team to see what their goals are for the rest of the tour.
114k today. We've got 2 Queen of the Mountains, so objectives, as we chatted, is look after Millie at all times, try and sniff out some early moves if you can, keep rotating through, and if you can get in the move, that's great. We've got a little bit of local knowledge because I'm from this neck of the woods, so the first part of the stage is like punctuated with narrow lanes, twists and turns, so although it's flat on paper, it's still quite a tough day really. We're going to try and protect Millie as much as we can, infiltrate the brakes early on, and just try and get an easy ride as possible within that, with a view to putting Millie in the front group.
For me, just try and save a bit of energy in the first half, and then I think the final circuit is going to be really tough, so just try and follow the moves to her and see how it goes really.
Millie, go with that front 19, plenty of numbers to follow there. We've got some strong teams. We'll keep you informed on the radio who's in the group, but it's looking like it will split on that finishing circuit.
Were they given the numbers out yesterday?
Yeah.
It's nice, especially to be able to do it in the GB jersey and get that recognition. To be able to race on home roads, it's kind of one of the only opportunities that we get, so it's really nice.
The racing in the UK is struggling. It's hard to put events on, traffic, closing city centres down, etc. So this is hugely important for a national team. We've got a majority of pathway riders, so they've come through the system. With Hendo up there and Kat, British riders, they've got a bit more motivation to do a result this week, so they're in that front group, so they're probably key riders to keep an eye on that finishing circuit. The event itself is massive. We get to see how our pathway's working. We also are trying to fill our Olympic quota, so we're looking at the future. It's inspiring for young kids, for young female athletes, that there's something there to do, and another sport to try, so that's huge.
Right, here's what the peloton will be facing today. The Tees Valley plays host to stage 2 of the tour, with a race covering 114.3 kilometres from Hartlepool to Saltburn-by-the-Sea. After circling around Middlesbrough, the riders hit the first sprint of the day at Gisborough. The route then hits the climb at Marske Lane before tackling the famous hairpins of Saltburn Bank. There is an intermediate sprint as the riders cross the finish line for the first time, and then they repeat the loop before returning to Saltburn-by-the-Sea for the stage finish. The riders are making their way to the start line in Hartlepool, so let's hand you over to your commentary team of Hannah Walker and Hayley Simmons.
Stage 2 taking the riders from Hartlepool to Saltburn-by-the-Sea, 114.3 kilometres. The riders are waiting, eager and ready to get the stage underway. It could be decisive, and as you can see from the weather conditions, the riders have all got their gilets on, they've got the rain capes, the rain is coming down, but that's not deterred the fans at the roadside. We've got 5.2 kilometres of neutralised section before the stage will officially get underway. And you can see our leader in the green jersey, Kim LaCourt, yesterday's stage winner, the leader of the general classification, the Mauritian champion with the multicoloured helmet. Just to her left-hand side in the white jersey, that's Kat Ferguson, the British rider. You can also just see a little sneak there of Anushka Costa with the blue jersey underneath the black gilet. 107 riders continuing in the race. 2 riders didn't finish yesterday, including Freya Knox and Danik Bram. 1 rider not taken to the start this morning, and that's Kate Richardson, the Scottish rider from Hansling Alba Development Road Team. We've also got 1 rider at the front. She's actually got a black jersey on right now. She's on the gold bike just behind the red car. That's Linda Zanetti. She's leading the red points classification jersey, but there's been several riders in front of her. She's 5th in the classification, but because of the rulings, Hayley, she's wearing the jersey today.
Yeah, it's quite unique that you actually see the 5th place rider in that classification wearing the jersey. I mean, you know, the current race leader, Kim LaCourt, obviously she can't wear all of the jerseys at once. So normally that jersey would be passed to the 2nd rider. Oh, there's some. It looks like some riders have gone the wrong way there and taken the wrong side of the road. Oh, they're rejoining. Rejoining.
Oh, well, they're taking a little bit of a diversion by the looks of things. One of those riders is, it is, Chiara Consoni, the
too busy having a
Italian.
chat.
Her and a good friend, Eleonora Gasparini of UAE Team ADQ in the white jersey, too busy having a chinwag. They've taken a little bit of a diversion. Let's hope that they can rejoin the race route. I'm glad to see they're in good spirits, but also in the car there, keeping things all neutralised. They're all in good spirits as well.
Trying to get a bit of a head start here, aren't they?
Sprinters, eh?
I know. They'll be called back behind the commissaire's car in a minute. Oh yeah, they are. Yeah, they are just apologising there to the commissaire. But no, it's quite unusual to see the 5th place rider in the classification wearing the jersey. But obviously, Kim LaCourt can't wear all of the jerseys that she earned yesterday. Normally, it would be Kristen Faulkner wearing the jersey in her place. But she's actually obviously got the American Champions jersey on her shoulders. And then the 3rd place rider, Lorena Wiebes, is the European champion. And again, that jersey takes precedence. Kat Ferguson is in the Young Riders jersey. And so it's actually the 5th place rider, Linda Zanetti, who will be wearing that points jersey today.
Rod Ellingworth, the race director, is out the sunroof of the car. He waves the flag. They go through kilometre 0 and stage 2 is officially underway. You can see the pink jerseys of EF Education Oatly are amassing towards the front, and of course they're wanting to try and protect the USA national champion and the Olympic road race champion Kristen Faulkner on a day like today, because particularly with such a start we have today, you want to make sure that the breakaway, if a breakaway does go away, that it's not too strong, that it's more than doable to keep under control. You can also see a number of riders at the back, Caroline Swinkles, and we start to see one of our first riders make a move. This is one of the riders from Smurfit Westrock cycling team in the red and black jersey. Looks as though it's Lucy Harris who's trying to make a move. It's closely followed by a little bit of a reaction from Das Hutchinson as more riders try and float off the front here.
Yeah, I think today...
Big crash. Big crash at the back here, Hayley. There's several riders down. One of the riders is from the Great Britain national team, and the green jersey's down. The green jersey, the leader of the Lloyds Tour of Britain women, Kim LaCourt, is down.
She looked like she took a bad knock there, so let's keep an eye and see if she gets back on her bike, but she is taking some time to get up.
Also coming down and suffering in that crash there, Jess Roberts, as Tiffany Keep, she goes off the front now. And the attacks keep coming because now there's a reaction from Joe Tinley of Smurfit Westrock, who's trying to come up to Keep.
Our race leader, Kim LaCourt, was involved in a crash earlier on in the stage, but happily, she was able to continue. Before the race started, we subjected her to a quick-fire Q&A.
My name is Kim Lecoq-Pinard and I ride for AG Insurance Soudal.
What food could you not live without?
Pasta.
Do you prefer cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Would you rather be too hot or too cold?
Too cold.
What was the last song you listened to?
One step at a time.
What other sport are you good at?
Soccer.
Your favourite place to go on holiday?
Botswana or Mauritius.
What was your best subject at school?
Sports.
What was your worst subject at school?
French.
Favourite word in another language?
Je t'aime.
What dish do you cook best?
A good pasta dish, yeah.
Who or what makes you laugh the most?
My friends, my husband.
Best bit of advice for young riders or young athletes?
Never stop believing, always aim high. If you're going through a hard time, just know that a lot of people do go through hard times and it will get better. It's always light at the end of the tunnel.
Our three leaders in the breakaway have 1 kilometre to go until they get to the first intermediate sprint of the day into Gisborough. On the front, it's Tiffany Keep, the rider who kicked things off earlier on this morning in the blue and green jersey of Das Hutchinson. In the red and black, it's Lucy Gadd of Smurfit Westrock Racing Team. And then from Hansling Alba Development Road Team, that's Maddie Leach in the blue and pink fade with the blue overshoes. They're coming into this intermediate sprint. Don't forget, points are available for that red points classification and bonus seconds. And the weather, Hayley Simmons, has completely changed from this morning.
I know. I think the riders will be thankful for that. We did see a lot of wet roads and riders with multiple layers on this morning, and now mostly the rain jackets have come off, and the roads in the most part look to be dry, which will make the finale a lot safer.
The time gap that these three riders have had has been over 3 minutes at one point. Everything behind in this peloton is being controlled by around 6 different teams, but right now it's Movistar in those white jerseys who have come to the fore because they're wanting to try and protect their best young rider, and that's Kat Ferguson, one of the best British riders too. Coming into this intermediate sprint into the market town of Gisborough, it's Lucy Gadd on the front in the red jersey. Tiffany Keep is getting herself set up and ready to try and take these points and try and take these bonus seconds. And it's Keep, the South African, who goes on the far right-hand side. A big acceleration. Now Gadd starts to make an acceleration and tries to react, but it's all but too late. Tiffany Keep takes the 10 points. She takes the 3 bonus seconds. Gadd taking second. And here we see the replay.
Yeah, it looks like Maddie Leach maybe didn't have anything to give. She unfortunately had to have a bike change earlier, got gapped a little bit, and then had to work her way back to her 2 breakaway compatriots. So potentially her legs are just a little bit done, and she couldn't contest for that sprint.
The chase from the peloton is coming through Gisborough. They're about to approach that intermediate sprint. Raquel Barbieri in the indigo and orange jersey for Pecnic Postenel. Down the centre of the road in the white jersey, that's one of the Spanish riders, Ruiz Perez from Movistar. But the chase right now is all on to try and chase these 2 down. Tiffany Keep takes the 10 points and the 3 bonus seconds. Lucy Gadd taking 7 and 2 bonus seconds. Maddie Leach with the 5 points and 1 bonus second, with Barbieri taking the 3. The 1 point going to Ruiz Perez. Tiffany Keep and Lucy Gadd are working well together in this breakaway. Meanwhile, the third rider who was initially in the breakaway, Maddie Leach, is caught by the peloton. That time gap now at 1 minute.
Yeah, you can really see the intention of the chasers behind, and that time gap, which was 3 minutes at its greatest, is now only a minute, and I think this is the beginning of the end for the breakaway.
We're about to approach the first Queen of the Mountain of the day. That's Mask Lane, and you can see the profile that the riders have to contend with in the final 35 kilometres. Our breakaway duo goes through the bottom of this Queen of the Mountain. 33.6 kilometres to go. It's only a 1.9 kilometre climb, but these gradients are pretty brutal towards the top part of this Queen of the Mountain.
I think as well, these closing kind of 35 kilometres of the stage, although there are only the 2 categorised climbs, you've also got 2 ascents of Saltburn-by-the-Sea, and then there are numerous other climbs on this course that aren't categorised, but will just kind of all accumulate together to really sap the energy from the legs.
Chiara Consoni moves away forward in the pink jersey, as does Cecilia Uttrup Ludwig. Canyon Stram, Zonda, Crypto. Little Trek are amassing themselves up towards the front. On the right-hand side, in the red, blue and yellow jerseys, Emma Norsgaard Björk and Loretta Hansen. No sign of the green jersey yet, but I can see some of the jerseys further back, those dark blue jerseys of AG Insurance Soudal.
That would indicate that their race leader, Kim Lecourt, is somewhere in here, but hopefully she's not suffering too much from that earlier crash, and she'll be feeling okay when we hit this climb.
This climb has an average of 5.4%, and when you take a look at the lower part of this climb, it's not too severe. It's when we get to those final 500 meters where you see gradients of 11, 12, 13%. Here comes the arrival of the USA National Road Race Champion in the Stars and Stripes with the pink helmet. She's got a nice cadence, keeping things pretty calm. Now as more riders start to move forward, including one rider from UAE Team ADQ. You get the sense here, there's a bit of tension. Everybody's waiting for this hard section of the climb because they know fireworks can start.
Absolutely. I think it's really important for the riders to be at the front because it gives them an opportunity to react to any attacks that go, but also it gives them more slipping room. If you're right at the front and riders start to struggle, then you know, you've got a bit further to fall before you actually lose contact with the back of the group.
Well, they've gone across the crossroads through 500 meters until they crest the top of this Queen of the Mountain here on Mask Lane. And look at how steep this climb is. And Tiffany Keep, well, she was the rider who was decisive at the start of the stage. She was the rider who forced the breakaway to go. And Lucy Gadd is having a hard time at trying to follow the rider from South Africa. But Keep is making this look easy. She's got a nice cadence. She's right within a rhythm, but she's making light work.
I think it's actually really key here to just choose the correct gear, try and stay seated if you can because it's a little bit more efficient, maybe get out the saddle to kick over the really steep bits, but just try and find the gear that you can comfortably ride up this climb and just keep pushing on. And I think it is inevitable that these chasers behind are going to catch these riders, but you know, the smoother she can be, the best opportunity she'll give herself.
Behind, the pace is elevated. Anuska Costa in the blue jersey of Uno X Mobility has started to move forward. She wants to try and take some points in this Queen of the Mountain. Don't forget, it's a categorized 1 climb, so big points are on offer. 10 points for the first rider to crest the top, and points are available for the first 10 riders in total. But now they're starting to close on in to our 2 riders out front.
I think with the features that are left at the back end of this stage, the fact that the riders are all going to be fighting for those general classification positions means that any gaps that are still remaining are going to be closed quite quickly with the accelerations that are coming from the chasers.
Keep still managing to hold on. Lucy Gadd right now is finding herself in some difficulty, and it's incredible how quickly this peloton has closed on our breakaway duo. They've closed a minute's gap, and this is around, what, 20 seconds currently to Tiffany Keep. But she's well within her rhythm. She's got gritted teeth fighting to try and take the maximum points on this Queen of the Mountain.
I think if she can continue riding this consistent rhythm and get over the top of the climb, as we've just seen her do, then maybe she'll have a chance to sneak into this group when they do eventually catch her.
It looks as though Lucy Gadd is going to manage to hold on for second place over this Queen of the Mountain, or is she? Well, look at that acceleration from Anuska Costa. She comes through and steals those points off Lucy Gadd, and that's exactly what Anuska Costa was looking for. She wants to try and get herself into that jersey by the end of the day, but she's continuing to ride, and Dominika Wladaszek in the white jersey here, the Polish champion, is continuing to kick things on.
She was really impressive to watch yesterday, and she's clearly feeling good.
Wladaszek did take 4th place, taking 7 points. Roldan taking the 6 points. Faulkner taking 5, with Henderson with 4. Uttrup Ludwig taking 3. Wiebes with the 2. Giray taking the 1 point in that first Queen of the Mountain. Still one lone leader out front. Tiffany Keep has a small advantage over the chasers behind, but we're starting to see the race shift and change now with select favourites and big names in this chasing group here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, there are going to be quite a lot of gaps that will have opened on that climb. And to be honest, the features now come thick and fast. There are some unclassified climbs that the riders will have to face now before they reach Saltburn. And then, of course, they've got to tackle this Category 1 climb all over again.
It's quite technical in places between here and Saltburn Bank, particularly when you go through the countryside. You've got a fast descent down the other side. You've got a lot of undulation, unclassified climbs, which could be used as a launch pad to try and make moves, try and create new gaps and new breakaways.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially because a lot of the climbs actually come off the back of quite fast descents, and so if the peloton is strung out and then they attack the climbs hard, then the gaps are just going to grow. And what we're seeing now is that Tiffany Keep is finally being reeled in by the peloton, and I think these will be her final few moments of time up the road by herself.
Whatever happens here for Tiffany Keep, the South African from Das Hutchinson, it's been a tremendous ride. She's been strong, she's shown herself out front, and she's shown her team what she's capable of. And meanwhile, Livalula Jaco send Amber Pate up the road in this purple jersey. Immediately, counter-attacks are starting to fly and go off the front, and Visma Leasebike in the yellow jerseys have taken up the chase at the front. Could we see a new breakaway?
Now, as the race makes its way south, we caught up with the Minister for the Future of Roads, Lillian Greenwood MP, at the finish in Saltburn.
It's so important to have events like this to inspire the next generation, particularly of women and girls, to get on their bikes. We know it's great for the nation's health. It enables people to have that opportunity to get involved in exercise, but also the practical thing of getting on a bike and being able to go places. I'm here as the Roads Minister. Obviously, one of the things I'm really proud that we're doing nationally, investing an extra £500 million this year on fixing the roads, because of course you need smooth, safe roads to get people out on the bikes. We know it puts people off if they think they're going to hit a pothole or have to swerve to avoid one.
How important do you think events like this, the Lloyds Tour of Britain, are to inspire the next generation?
Oh, I think it's fabulous. I've met some of the young women who are here today who are watching this and thinking that could be them in the future. Of course, not everyone's going to be an elite racer. The important thing is that everyone can ride a bike. We want everyone to benefit from the opportunities of, just having a bit more activity in your life, what it does for your mental health, what it does for your physical health. It's a great thing.
Into Saltburn Bank is Lizzie Dignan, the former world champion, who's leading Little Trek into the bottom of this severe climb. Don't forget, our next intermediate sprint is coming up, and it'll be the first passage of the line with 18.7 kilometres remaining. Now she starts to wind it up, and there was a crash earlier on with 27 kilometres to go. Weebiz was caught up. Femke Marcus, her teammate. Also, Anna Morris came down. We expected Weebiz to be in that front group, and we wondered where she was, but this now explains everything. The European champion is down, but certainly not out.
No, though, it's going to be difficult at this point for her to get back on terms with the pace that's been injected at the front by Lizzie Dignan. And really, you can just see how the riders in this front group are strung out. And at this point in the race, I don't think the pace is going to let up at all, and I don't think these gaps are going to close again.
Kat Ferguson in the white jersey sitting in second wheel. In the yellow, it's the 19-year-old youngster Imogen Wolf in the yellow jersey for Visma Leasebike. Lizzie Dignan, though, is the rider who's dishing out all of the pain to these riders. Just take a look at the grimaces and the shoulders rocking and rolling. Charlotte Cole is a little bit further back with gritted teeth, but here's the arrival of Kristen Faulkner, the USA national champion. Don't forget, bonus seconds are on offer, and she's the closest challenger in the general classification right now.
Absolutely, and you talk about the grimaces on the faces, but actually Kristen Faulkner looks under control. She looks smooth, she looks calm, and she looks like she's actually very well positioned to take some points and some bonus seconds at the top of this climb.
She's come into this race stating that this kind of course suits her well across the 4 stages. Given the fact that the climbs are short, steep, it suits her attributes and character as a rider. And right now she's in a very controlling position, and everybody else is having to react. But here comes the move from behind. It's Anna Henderson, the Olympic silver medalist of Little Trek, who's looking to try and take the points, looking to try and take the bonus seconds. She's currently being challenged by Caroline Swinkles. Kristen Faulkner, it was a late reaction, but she's trying to come through, but so is the white jersey Kat Ferguson. A throw for the line. Well, try and separate them. A photo finish between Ferguson and Faulkner.
You can really see how much these bonus seconds mean to this rider. With such close margins being known to affect the overall outcome of this race, it really does pay dividends to put in that extra effort.
Well, it was indeed Faulkner who took the 10 points, Ferguson taking 7, Swinkles with the 5, Henderson settling for 3, and it was Roldan who picked up the 1. But crucially, Faulkner got 3 bonus seconds there.
Absolutely, and you know, these bonus seconds could be crucial. There are more still to get on tomorrow's stage and the final stage into Glasgow too.
Into the second and final Queen of the Mountain of the day, Picnic Postenel in those indigo and orange jerseys. This is almost like a team time trial. They're in a commanding position right now, and they've got a plan. They've got 5 riders. Charlotte Cole comes through. They've got Megan Jastrab. They've also got Mara Roldan, Josie Nelson, and Esme Peppercamp. They're all trying to work well together, and meanwhile there's a number of riders who have found themselves off the back, including Ord Bianic in the white jersey for Movistar. Another one of those riders is Margot Vigie, as well as number 13, and that's Eleonora Gasparini.
I think the formation of the riders from the Team Picnic Post-NL squad indicates that they've got a plan here. They want to do something in the closing kilometres of this stage. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how they tackle this next Queen of the Mountains climb.
What's apparent to me, they're all working, so it doesn't look as though they're trying to save one rider more than another. And don't forget, they've got Megan Jastrab, who sits well in the general classification at 8th overall at 18 seconds.
Yeah, it's really interesting because obviously teams want to get something out of this race, and so there'll have been a discussion between riders, directors, discussions on how each of the individuals are feeling and the stages that are coming up and what the profiles of those stages are, and they'll look at what their best opportunity is to get on a podium. Now, is that the overall race podium, or is that an individual stage podium? And I think what we're seeing is they think that they can do something today and maybe be one of the top riders on the stage finish in Saltburn.
Amber Crack starts to move forward in that navy blue and red jersey for FDJ Suez. Don't forget, she was crucial on yesterday's stage for Ali Wollaston. She's got a great motor. She's a real diesel engine. And meanwhile, these riders, well, I think this is just a little bit too late because they've got a lot of work to close and the team cars are coming by. They're out, almost going out of the convoy, and I think it's going to be race over for them, at least for today's stage.
Absolutely, and now they'll just work on you know, saving as much energy as they can, despite the fact that the remainder of this stage is still quite hard. It's quite hard going, so they'll just ride together, keep working together, and try and limit their losses a little bit.
Other riders who are in this group, you can see on the right hand side in the pink jersey, that's Cecilia Uttrup Ludwig. Just behind her with the rider with the red helmet, that's the Canadian Sarah Van Dam of Sarah Tizit Pro Cycling. I also just caught sight of Lauren Dixon of Hansling Albert Development Road Team. They're working hard, but I feel like they've got a lot of work to do to try and close. And meanwhile, at the front of the race, well, this is a huge move for Picnic Postenel. They were trying to set things up, and into the final 500 meters of this Queen of the Mountain up Mask Lane, they've launched one rider, and this looks like the figure of Mara Roldan, the Canadian. Look at the way that her shoulders rock and roll, and that was an explosive attack.
This is an all-or-nothing attack now. You know, they've already seen this climb once. They clearly went into it the second time with a plan. We knew that something was brewing, and this looks like it was it, and this is an all-or-nothing ride-or-die move.
Don't forget, we've got from the top of this climb 13.2 kilometers to go until we get to the finish. So Mara Roldan, the 21-year-old Canadian, has decided to strike early, and behind no one can react. Such are the brutal gradients of this climb here on Mask Lane. Nobody can do anything.
No, and Team Picnic Post-NL were the team that really had the numbers in this group, but with such gradients, actually, there's not that much of advantage from drafting and sitting in the wheels, so almost these riders are kind of looking after themselves a little bit, and you can see the effort that all of the riders from Team Picnic Post-NL put in. That was Charlotte Cool just, you know, saying goodbye to that group. She's done her job for today, and now she just needs to get herself to the finish.
Lizzie Deignan, her job is done for the day too. Grace Lister in that lime green jersey starting to struggle to hold on. Meanwhile, at the front of the race, it's Mara Roldan who crests the top of this Queen of the Mountain. She takes the 10 points. That's just a bonus. She's looking for the stage victory here with a laboured look, but it's effective, her style.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously feeling good. I hadn't necessarily picked up on it, but we did see her name in those top 10 riders over the line on this climb on the last lap, and also at the top of Saltburn.
Lauren Dixon leads the select group over the top of that Queen of the Mountain. She takes the 9 points. Kristen Faulkner picking up 8 points in that Queen of the Mountain, but we have got a select group who is starting to go clear. We can see, despite that climb only being 1.9 kilometers long, it's done the damage, and there we get the results. Roldan taking the 10, Dixon with the 9, Faulkner taking 8, Swinkles with the 7, Uttrup Ludwig taking 6, Van Dam holds on for 5 points, Ton with 4, Ferguson taking 3, Marcus with the 2, and Jastrab taking the 1.
You've got to say, what a ride from Lauren Dixon. This is only really her first kind of full season, and her first professional UCI race last year was actually the British National Championships on a course based around Saltburn, and she didn't finish on that occasion. And then less than a year later, she's finding herself at the front of a women's world tour race with the best riders in the world.
When you're surrounded by these riders, and right now Lauren Dixon is surrounded by riders who have won stages of the Tour de France Femmes, they've won big World Tour races, Olympic road race champion. How impressive is that for Dixon?
It's really impressive, and to be honest, she just has to soak all this in right now and just learn as much as she can and enjoy the moment.
One rider's chipped off the front in pursuit of Roldan, and that's Rhiannon Marcus. Our lone leader inside 10 kilometers to go. It's Mara Roldan, the 21-year-old Canadian from Picnic Post NL. She's swinging the bike into this left-hand side, and with such a small advantage here, she needs to try and take as much gap as possible, as much time as possible. But in the meantime, it's Rhiannon Marcus of Little Trek who's in the chase.
Exactly, and we know that Rhiannon Marcus is a really strong time trial rider, and from the style of riding, she looks a little bit more in control, so it'll be really interesting to see whether Mara Roldan can hold her advantage or not.
The chasing group go through 10 kilometers to go. Just at the back of that group, that's the young British rider Grace Lister of Hess Cycling Team in the lime green jersey. Don't forget, they're onto roads that they've already seen once before today. They had that lap before, and now they're onto this descent. Mara Roldan will know this as she goes into the dappled light, into what is pretty narrow and also patchy, dry, wet roads.
That proved to be difficult for some of the riders in the previous lap, and the issue is that obviously the roads have mostly dried out where the sun's hit them, but under tree cover there are still those damp patches, and if riders just go in a bit too quickly, then they can easily lose the grip on the road and find themselves in some trouble. But luckily Mara Roldan got through that safely, so that's one of the obstacles safely navigated, and now she can focus on the next bit, which will be an unclassified but nonetheless quite difficult bit of climbing up to the big roundabout.
This year, Mara Roldan's had quite a season. She had a top 10 placing at Amstel Gold Race, the first of the 3 Ardennes Classic races. She's had 1 pro victory in her career, and a young career so far. But for Mara Roldan, she's been learning and improving and progressing step by step, but this is a leap.
Absolutely, you know, if she can pull this off, this will undoubtedly be the biggest victory of her career. Victory in a women's world tour race is something that not that many riders ever achieve. So for her to do it at the age of 21, in, you know, her first year on such a big team, and her first of 3 confirmed years, I believe, that she's got a contract with Picnic Post NL. This will be a great showing for this young rider.
Well, the team have got a talent for spotting young up-and-coming talent, and that's why they've developed so many riders. You think of those who have come through their roster in the past, and Mara Roldan is of that next generation. She's got a pretty hefty advantage over Rhiannon Marcus and the chasing group, the larger chasing group already. And the sun is shining, still the breaking blue sky, and Saltburn Bank awaits for Mara Roldan.
There's 2 very contrasting styles of riding going on here. You know, we see Mara Roldan, and it almost looks like a bit of a fight with the bike, that, you know, you're struggling to tell how much energy she can possibly have left, whereas Rhiannon Marcus looks smoother, a bit more controlled, a bit calmer. But actually, looking at it, she doesn't seem to be making that much headway on the Canadian.
Yeah, she was making inroads initially, wasn't she? But now the Canadian has started to kick on, and this little section of road, and I know you know it well, Hayley, is demanding. You're in the hedgerows, you're sheltered from the weather conditions and the wind, but the gradients here are attritional.
They are, and the roads are still quite sapping. We've spoken about that quite a lot over the past 2 days, but they really do take it out of you. And remember, at this point, the riders have over 100 kilometers of racing today already in their legs. So I think we can just see from the general nature of everyone's riding just how fatiguing it's been.
When you take a look at the makeup of that chasing group, you've got Ali Wollaston, a world champion on the track for FDJ Suez, who's still in the group. You've also got Linda Riedman, the German rider from Visma, Lisa by Cat Ferguson is still in the group. So are the two riders from the Great Britain national team, Flora Perkins and Millie Cousins. They're top riders. They're the riders with the white jerseys with the blue, navy blue stripe and the red stripe down the centre of the back. Grace Lister is there in the lime green jersey. You've got a couple of riders in the group from Canyon SRAM Zonda Crypto, one of those being Cecilia Uttrup-Ludwig. You've got two riders from Sarah Tizet Pro Cycling. One of those was a top 10 finisher yesterday. That's the Canadian Sarah Van Dam. And don't forget about the Olympic road race champion who sits right up there in the general classification, Kristen Faulkner of EF Education Oatly.
Yeah, Kristen Faulkner doesn't have any of her EF Education Oatly teammates left with her. They did a really good job early on at marshalling that break, making sure that it didn't get too much of a time advantage, and the maximum time it did get was about 3 minutes. So although she doesn't have any teammates left with her now, she's experienced enough and strong enough to be able to look after herself well in the closing kilometres of this stage.
Just spotted Marta Jaskulska as well as Quinty Ton of Liverlula Jaco. Another one of those riders in that group is Caroline Swinkle. She's sitting third wheel. And for now, whilst Rhiannon Marcus is in pursuit of this rider, Mara Roldan, Anna Henderson can sit comfortably. She doesn't need to do any of the work. She doesn't need to do any of the chasing because Rhiannon Marcus is making some inroads here as now our lone leader, Roldan, goes through 5 kilometres to go.
Yeah, Anna Henderson really just needs to follow the wheels, and you know, if Rhiannon Marcus is kind of caught and swept back in by this chasing group, then maybe Anna Henderson looks at attacking herself. But for now, all she needs to do is follow the other riders and just, you know, make sure that she reserves enough energy to have a good go at Saltburn Bank when they reach there for the finale.
It's all being left to Movistar, the riders in the white jerseys with the navy blue band around the chest. It's Floortje Mackay who's the rider who's on the front trying to close things down for Kat Ferguson. Look at the way that Mara Roldan, she's emptying the tank up this climb here. This is a hard one. This is one of the last final climbs you've got before you get to Saltburn Bank, and then you've got that burn. And now we start to see a couple of riders start to accelerate up this road and try and use the road to their advantage. FDJ Suez, well, they're trying to capitalize off the back of Movistar having done the chase. Can they try and use this section of road to jump across if they've got the legs?
This is what could be dangerous actually for Mara Roldan, because she's been alone for a little while, and the riders behind, possibly if they've been able to take a bit of shelter, but if they've been able to sit in the wheels, they might have slightly fresher legs. But I think by this stage everyone's kind of on their last limits, and Mara Roldan, I keep thinking that she's maybe gonna start to kind of lose some of that power and the gaps will shrink, but for now she's holding steady.
This is impressive. This is an incredibly impressive performance from Mara Roldan. She's throwing everything trying to take a stage victory here at the Lloyds Tour of Britain Women. Look at the effort. It's been a brave performance from Roldan, but it was well executed early on from the team. They came here, they knew they wanted to try and deliver on this stage. It's a matter of this rider trying to finish it off.
Absolutely, they set it up incredibly well. I do wonder whether she was plan A, whether she was kind of the rider that they thought could go for the stage victory, or whether she was the first one to try and that first attempt did succeed, and maybe if that had failed they would have sent one of the other riders. But everybody gave full commitment to making sure that one of their riders, one of the riders from Team Picnic Post NL, did manage to attack and get a bit of a gap. You know, we saw Charlotte Kool just falling back away from that chase group on that Queen of the Mountains climb, and she'd given everything to try and make a success for her team and lead to her team taking the stage victory.
We passed one of the many schools who are out in force to support the race. They've got the banners, they've got the bunting on the left-hand side. It's still Movistar who are on the front, and I think seeing the shot and that camera shot of Rhiannon Marcus, I think Roldan has pulled away from the Dutch woman.
I think she has, and you know, every time that I see Mara Roldan, it almost looks as though it's the closing meters of the stage with her body language and the grimace, and you can see the pressure in her arms as she grips the bars and just fights every time that the road takes an upward turn. But she's continuing to stay away, and you know, now she'll have a fast descent, and then it's just Saltburn between her and the finish line.
Roldan leans it into this left-hand corner, shaves a little bit of speed off, gets the corner right, comes out of the apex, accelerates once again out of the saddle, another injection of pace. She's attacking every inch of this course to get her benefit and to gain as much as possible.
Absolutely. She knows that she's got one of the best time trialists in the world behind her, so she really needs to inject the pace, and then as soon as she gets up to speed, she can then take a little bit of recovery before the next kind of place where she really has to take an advantage again.
3 kilometres to go for Roldan as Marcus makes her way through 3 kilometres to go. There's still daylight between that large chasing group. What can they do when you don't have the numerical advantage that you had earlier on?
The thing is, I think now it's very difficult because they're either on a section of the course that's going to be extremely fast, like this descent, where everybody's speed is fast. So it's much more difficult to make inroads into that gap when everyone's doing 60 kilometers an hour or more. And then they get to Saltburn, and actually there's not that much of an advantage of having a teammate there. It's really going to be every woman for herself, and what does each individual rider have left in their legs to get up that final 45-second climb.
Roldan hugs the left-hand side of the road. She sees the 2 kilometre to go banner. 2,000 metres between Roldan taking her first Women's World Tour victory. Can Marcus make the junction?
You know what? I don't know, because Saltburn is short, but at that stage of the race, if a rider has nothing left in their legs, they can lose a lot of time in a very short amount of distance. So if Marcus ends up proving that she has more energy left, then she could in fact overthrow Roldan. But at the moment, Roldan looks like she's holding on.
Marie Linette starts to move forward, as does Ali Wollaston. FDJ Suez have got 3 riders in that chase group, and it's only now that they've started to move forward to try and help and to try and contribute. Floortje Mackay, job well done. She's giving everything to Kat Ferguson, and the Dutch woman from Movistar can't give any more.
No, absolutely. Movistar have done a really good job the past 2 days. They've really shown that they believe in Kat Ferguson and her ability to deliver a result in this race.
Brilliant descending here from Mara Roldan. She hugs the right-hand side of the road. Meanwhile, Rihanna Marcus has the Canadian out of sight, but she's certainly not out of mind. Meanwhile, the 21-year-old has 1,000 metres remaining under the Flamme Rouge. She sees the sea. She takes the sweeping left-hand bend. It's only Saltburn Bank that awaits for the 21-year-old Mara Roldan of Picnic Post NL. She's fighting the bike, but she's got Marcus who's chasing behind.
But of course, she's done this climb once before. She knows what it's like. And also, she's teammates with Pfeiffer Georgie, who's taken 2 national championship victories on this very climb. So she knows what stands between her and her first ever World Tour victory. It's just whether she has the legs to deliver that.
Well, MotoGP will be calling Mara Roldan soon, because the way that she took that sweeping left-hand bend, knee down, and fighting out of the corner. Look at this from the 21-year-old Canadian. Picnic Post NL, they came with a plan. They wanted to try and execute it, but to try and finish off such a brave job is another thing in itself. And looking at the body language of Rihanna Marcus, she's not going to be able to catch the 21-year-old.
No, I think at this point, Mara Roldan just looks like she wants it the most. You can see how much she's fighting the bike. Every pedal stroke is hurting her, but she wants this so much. This victory is going to mean so much to her and to her team. And sometimes it's that mental advantage that is actually the difference between winning and missing out on the win.
The crowds cheer her on this 300-metre climb, an average gradient of over 14%. The fans cheer, and she's onto the plateau. She can see 300 metres to go ahead of her. Well, this has been a performance of a lifetime for Mara Roldan, the 21-year-old Canadian from Picnic Post NL. They came with a plan. They wanted to try and deliver, and this has been exceptional. No one could follow on the Queen of the Mountain, and Roldan has just cemented herself as a Women's World Tour winner. She's going to take her first Women's World Tour victory, and in some style. That was incredible. It was brave, and they say fortune favours the brave, and it's favoured Mara Roldan. It's exceptional the way that she's ridden, and nobody could do anything about it. Not Olympic champions, not national champions, and Roldan is going to win stage 2 of the Lloyds Tour of Britain Women here into Saltburn-by-the-Sea. Signed, sealed and delivered by Picnic Post NL. Behind, they're sprinting for the points, they're sprinting for the bonus seconds. Rihanna Marcus holds on for second place, and behind, Ali Wollaston in the navy blue and red is trying to sprint and take a podium finish while she gets there, just beating Megan Jastrab.
Yeah, the whole performance by Team Picnic Post NL was impressive today, and they've still actually protected their GC position as well, with Megan Jastrab rolling over the line in 4th.
Caroline Swinkle's up there in the top 10, as was Kristen Faulkner, the USA national champion. And a great reception here for the two-time winner of this race, Lizzie Deignan, who is smiles aplenty.
Samara Roldan takes the win on stage 2, 12 seconds ahead of Rhiannon Marcus. Ali Wollaston was third, just ahead of Megan Jastrab, and there was another good finish for Kat Ferguson in fifth. The young Canadian rider claims the biggest win of her career.
Oh, I think I was definitely seeing stars at the top of that climb there. Yeah, when my DS Callum in the car said there was only 10 seconds at the bottom of the hill, I had a little bit of doubt, but I was like, all right, I just have to give it absolutely everything up here, and yeah, I'm really happy it paid off.
Kristen Faulkner is leading the points competition, and she's also in possession of the Queen of the Mountains jersey. Kat Ferguson still leads the Best Young Rider competition, and the new leader of the Lloyds Tour of Britain Women is Kristen Faulkner.
I think, you know, we dropped both of the other GC riders on the circuit, so I think it was just raced really hard, and I think a lot of riders were isolated without teammates, and that made it really hard to chase.
The American rider has a 4-second lead over Rhiannon Marcus. Ali Wollaston is third at 12 seconds, and Kat Ferguson is up to fourth, 14 seconds off the lead. Caroline Swinkles is fifth, then Megan Jastrab heads a group of 3 riders at 16 seconds. Well, what a day of racing that was. Make sure you join us again tomorrow for stage 3 as the Tour makes its first visit to Scotland.